But yeah, these are very, very obvious and clear keys for the Aggies in 2024.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into the TexAgs Rewind presented by Specs. I am David Nuno. I got Calita with me, and I've got Cadito. That work? Callie and Cade? All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for the courtesy laugh.
I like that.
Favorite part of the show today, Calita?
I think it was Dave Shumate. I really enjoyed. He brought a lot of energy. But I also have to say Bronny, because I was texting Kay. I was like, I feel like even if I'm tired or just like in my own world kind of over here, Bronny comes in and it's just like no more tired.
No more tired.
Awake.
So yeah, I thought Bronny was fantastic as he usually is. Cade, what was your favorite part of the show?
Well, I just got here and I really liked Bob Shumate. Or
Bob
Sturm.
You took Bob Sturm and Dave Shumate.
Yeah,
you created a new media person.
I've mixed it up. But I like Bob Sturm. He had a very soothing voice. He kind of sounded like J.K. Simmons. I enjoyed that.
Have you ever watched J.K. Simmons in the show Oz?
I don't think I haven't watched him in that, but I've seen him in Whiplash. Obviously, he's
Batman.
J. Jonah Jameson.
Yep. Good stuff. That's right, J. Jonah Jameson. But he was one of the Commissioner Gordons, I think, too. Am I right? I'm pretty sure he was. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure in the Ben Affleck Batmans he was. I'll have to double check that. Whatever. I could be completely wrong. If I'm wrong, we'll strike that from the record. It's the Rewind. Check it. I want to ask about Elko's philosophy with this defensive line, because he says this might be the most talented defensive line he's had, right? And this could be one of the best defenses that Coach Elko's had at Texas A&M. So when you look at those parts on the defensive line, tell me what you see.
Yeah, I mean, I see some real guys. I mean, I think Nick Score. I think the best player going in to the best defensive player heading into the 2024 season in the SEC is James Pierce. I really think it's James Pierce, but I think a lot of people aren't really talking about him unless you follow SEC recruiting. But I think a guy like Nick Scorton, the Purdue transfer, the Bryan College Station kid, I think he could be in that conversation. I've seen some mock drafts. I mean, again, I don't know how accurate they've been in the past, but I've seen some guys have him going number 1 overall in the draft. I mean, we know Shamar Turner, Albert Regis. I mean, I recruited when I was at UCLA, Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, good player as well, DJ Hicks, Malik Sealer. Like you said, you go down the list. Cassius Howe could be that guy, could be an edge rusher. The other Shamar Stewart. There's guys on there that it's going to be – I think that front seven is going to be pretty good. I mean, even you asked about the defensive line, but even go back to the next level, Torian York. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of good defensive fronts in the SEC this year, and it kind of just feels like the secondary is kind of an issue for a lot of teams just because I think teams are so often in nickel and dime now. And a lot of these guys that play the 7th, 8th role off the bench, they want to go transfer immediately. So everybody has young depth across the board. It's kind of like the quarterback position. Nobody really feels great about their secondary depth, just like they do with the quarterback position. But I think A&M's right in there with everybody else with that front seven. It could be arguably a top 3 unit in the SEC, just specifically talking about the front seven.
So if we talk about the offensive line, which has been a huge issue the last few years, if they're pretty good, we were talking about them before you joined the show, so I don't know if you heard that conversation, but if they're pretty good, I think that translates to Connor Wigman being elite as long as he stays healthy, which is every quarterback, by the way, in the SEC.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it kind of felt like, I thought Jim Turner did a good job when he was there. I felt like he was, again, that was his second tenure at A&M. I always, just from talking to some guys that were in there last year, it kind of seemed like it really wasn't a talent issue, kind of a Steve Adazio issue from guys. And I'm not throwing him under the bus, but it kind of seems like that was kind of the issue last year a little bit with him. I think the offensive line's got talent. I mean, you're looking at it right here. Trey Zune. I saw Elko say yesterday they're moving Chase Basantis to inside to the right guard spot. That should be beneficial to him. I think that's exactly where he is. Can Ruben Fothery go step up and take one of those tackle spots?
Help us understand the quarterback situation, because when we last saw Peyton Thorne, that was one of the worst quarterback games I've ever seen. That being said, he figured things out as the season went on. How good can he be in this second year in the system?
I think he'll be improved. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that you talk about as being one of the top 3 or 4 passers even in the conference. I don't think he has to be. I think Auburn has such a really, really good running back room, one of the best in the conference, got a very good offensive line, that if Peyton Thorne just doesn't lose games for you, I'm not talking about being a game manager, but I'm talking about improving on 1,700 yards is what he threw for last year, which is putrid. That's not a quarterback of SEC level. I think if Peyton Thorne can get over 2,000 yards, get a completion percentage around 60%, show marked improvement without having to be elite, he can really, really help Auburn win a lot of games. And another underrated aspect of Peyton Thorne that people sleep on is his running ability. He really does a lot with his legs. I think the combination of being in the system his second year and having some more weapons around him, and he's really, really high on Kent Austin, the quarterback coach. They seem to have meshed a lot better than him and Philip Montgomery did last year. Terminology, that kind of thing. He's a lot more comfortable. Doesn't have to do it by leaps and bounds. Just subtle improvement for Peyton Thorne will get Auburn, I think, where they need to be offensively.
Daryl, what about Hugh Freeze taking over the play calling duties and how much of a difference that'll be?
Well, if you look at the games that he game planned for last year and called plays, it was decidedly different than the ones he didn't. And I think that was very frustrating for Auburn fans last year. It's like, why not? If you know that that's a formula that works, why not stick with it? Well, he was trying to build a roster, and he was trying to delegate, and he was trying to, entertain recruits and do things like that. I think he realized with having Kent Austin and having Derek Nix, who came over from Ole Miss, they are all the same page. They've all worked together before. They're very familiar with each other. So even if you freeze, let's say, game plans for a particular game, but then has a play sheet and says, here's what I'd like to do, here's what I'd like to accomplish, he feels enough comfort level with Nix and Austin to let them maybe call some plays. And keep in mind, this is very, very important. Nix had in his contract, Derek Nix, when he left Ole Miss, that he could not leave Ole Miss just to be, offensive coordinator by title. He had to call some plays. So Auburn has got to put Nix in the mix, per se, and let him call some plays, because that's part of the agreement to be able to leave the Ole Miss contract.
Jonah Williams, LSU, obviously one of the teams mentioned with him. How are things looking with him, football-wise and baseball?
Well, I think it's important to understand that this is going to be 99.99% a football decision because of what's happened to the baseball rosters. I mean, you only get 34 players.
Right.
You only get 34 players, man. So that's changing. I think we need to have a separate radio segment to talk about what's happening in collegiate baseball, because I don't think people are understanding the fan base and even like the recruiting base, like the parents of some of these travel baseball kids or high school baseball kids. They don't understand what these college coaches are facing.
Can you kind of explain, because there's one side of it that is like, hey, there's more scholarships, but
right. Well, we'll go into that. Like I want to make this about Jonah, right? So Jonah is a legitimate dual sport athlete, and the way he's progressed on the pitcher's mound on the baseball field makes him I think a professional baseball prospect. Left-handed, big kid, super athletic, been up to 94 miles an hour, but he's also an NFL player. Mm-hmm. Like, he's a rare breed of athlete that could play professional sports across multiple sports. For A&M, it's been weird because throughout these ups and downs in his recruitment, and if you listen to folks, the national folks, they had you convinced in the spring that he was going to Oregon, and then there was this massive LSU push, and now Texas has kind of come in and out. But the one constant that's been in there that everybody will say, well, A&M's in it. Oregon's taking this lead, A&M's right there. LSU's taking this lead, A&M's right there. So it's kind of like this under the radar, and I feel like Mike Elko has done so much of that, whether it be in recruiting or in like kind of their theme and what they were saying at SEC Media Days. We're not talking about stuff anymore. We've had a quiet summer. We've had a quiet offseason. It's almost like they're just kind of lying in the weeds, doing all their work behind the scenes, and that feels this way with the Jonah Williams recruitment, at least to me. I think A&M has been in a pretty good spot and a not talked about spot for Jonah a lot. I feel the same way with Michael Fasusi. I'm not saying that A&M is going to get either one, but I'm saying that if you read the national stuff, A&M is tertiary when it comes to both of those guys in terms of schools talked about.
When I look at them, and I look at what Jimbo did the last few years, as dysfunctional as it was across the street, they were in every game that they lost. And I know that's kind of par for the course in the SEC, but these one-score games that sometimes the decisions on plays that they would run, or a stupid penalty or a stupid drop pass, there were so many of those things where they had chances to win every one of those games. I feel just alone a change in philosophy and a healthy quarterback, which goes a long way, should give you one or two more wins.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt about it, and that's been, following this Aggie program here these last several years. It's just the common threads, and you just hit on both of them. Is they're in every game, so clearly the roster has enough quality on it that the results that everyone wants are very possible. They are there. So the quality is there, and you just, at any level of football, you simply cannot reach your potential if you're changing quarterbacks 3 or 4 times a season. And so, I realize a lot of that is bad luck, and you just are rubbing that rabbit's foot, hoping that this is the year where you can actually, go all the way back to a Kellen Mond season where you have the exact same quarterback the entire season, and you're just like, wow, what would that be like? We can't remember back that far in some respects because it's been so difficult to even go a month with the same QB to try to get some cohesion and some production out of the offense. So yes, it absolutely starts there. And then of course people will say, well, actually, Bob, no, it starts with the offensive line, keeping the quarterback from getting creamed every single week. And I get that too. But yeah, these are very, very obvious and clear keys for the Aggies in 2024 is they got to get some continuity at quarterback, and if they do, we all know what Connor's capable of, and what this offense should be capable of, obviously with the new OC and everything.
Callie, can you please tell the people what they should have done already, but they probably haven't done just yet? Like, comment, and subscribe, and be like my mom, because she texted me and said she thought she was subscribed, but she wasn't. So she did it today. So you might think you are, but you might not be. So you should do it. By the way, I was right. J.K. Simmons was in Batman vs. Superman. So there you go. See you later. Next time.